Merriam's Online Academy. Today we are learning Yesterday by the Beatles. To purchase a copy of the music I'll be using, follow the link in the description below. In this video, I'll be going through the entire piece, section by section, and breaking it down for you. So we're going to start today with the verse of Yesterday, and I'm going to start by playing the first 7 bars for you, and then we'll break that down a little bit further into 2 sections. So here's how that goes. So that's the verse. Sounds very familiar if you know the song well. A couple of things we want to notice right off the top. First of all, we have a B flat in the key signature. So we are in the key of F major. And if you're familiar with chords, you'll notice that our first chord is F and that we have quite a few F chords throughout this first section. The second thing, we're in 4/4 time, so we've got 4 beats in every bar. For a lot of this, the counting is fairly straightforward, but there are a couple of bars where we're going to want to look really carefully at the counting, and you want to maybe do some counting out loud when you practice. So let's break this down a little bit further into the first 3 bars, and then I'll do the next 4 bars. This is a bit of an unusual phrasing because a lot of pieces are in 8-bar sections, and this one is in 7. So that's a little bit different, but somehow it works fairly well. So let's break down the first 3 bars, just talking about the right hand first. So we're starting kind of in an F position here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and is the first bar. And then we have a rest. And then we've got a little bit of a scale here, starting on our second finger. And then you're going to want to cross under on the D here. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So right after that C sharp, cross under, otherwise you run out of fingers and you won't be able to get up to the F. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and. So there, we've got a little bit of a tricky rhythm with the dotted rhythm there. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So there's your right hand for those first 3 bars. The left hand starts out by outlining the F major triad. So we start with A and C. So for 2 beats, and 2, and 3, and 4, and then outline the chord. In the second bar, we have 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. So follow the fingering here. We've got 5 on this, 1 and 2, 1 and 3, and then the G. Now notice the C sharp is a half note. So what's going to happen there is that you're going to hold the C sharp even when you switch to the G, like that. And then the last bar, we're back to F and A, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And there's your first 3 bars. So let me put that together and also point out the pedaling. So at the bottom of the staff here, we've got the markings for the pedal. So every time you see this arrow right here, these are the spots that you're going to change the pedal. So the pedal is often changed when you have a chord change or if things get quite busy. So in the second bar, we have 3 pedal changes. And although we only have 2 chords there with that extra switch in the left hand, you're going to want to clear the pedal out so that it doesn't get too mushy sounding. The first bar and the last bar, we just hold straight through. So it'll go like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So with the pedal there, we change here, or just put the pedal down at the beginning. Change, 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 change. And then you can hold straight through. And there's your first 3 bars. So let's take a look at the second line. Once again, I'll start with the right hand by itself, and then we'll add the left hand. So on this line, we're starting with a quarter rest first, and then we've got some 8th notes coming down in a descending pattern. So we're going to want to start with our 5th finger on D. The line before, we ended here, so you're going to make a switch to your 5th finger on the D to be able to play this descending 8th note passage. So you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice I'm getting that B flat in there from the key signature. So 1 and 2 and 3 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and. So here's where the counting is a little bit tricky. So I'm just going to write it in here. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. So if you're familiar with ties, we've got a couple of ties going on here. So right there, you're not going to play that note, or that note, and you hold those ones straight through. And that connects your melody line really well. So I'm just going to start where I started writing in the counting. So we're on finger 3 on the B flat. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And cross over. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and. So if you do that little flip over to the F here, then you're all in position to play the rest of that melody line. In the left hand, we start out with 3 and 5 on F and B flat. So we've got some half notes here. And it seems a little bit awkward when I'm starting right from this bar, but if you remember from the bar before, we had a D and a C. So this fingering actually makes a lot of sense. So you want to make sure that right there, you're going to be putting the 3 and the 5 on that B flat and F. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then here we've got F and C, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3. Right here, another important fingering, 1 and 2 and then a tie to finish off that line. So notice here that you've got a bunch of C's in a row. Sometimes I like to identify a finger that stays on one note and then the other notes switch around. So we've got a C here that goes there, there to there. So you're going to have C and E, C and F, C and E, and then C and D. And finding a stationary finger helps a lot because then you just have to think about moving around the bottom finger. So let's take a look actually at the pedaling for this line. And when we're looking at the pedaling and the left hand, notice that the pedal for this line changes every single time you change your left hand note. So we start with a pedal change here, change here, change, 2, 3, change, 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 change. So that's fairly common because, again, sometimes the pedaling comes with the chord changes, and oftentimes that happens along with the left hand. So in this particular line, every time you change your left hand chord, you're going to change the pedal at the same time. So let's see how this looks with both hands together. So here we go. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and. So this bar right here, just a little bit tricky, right? 1 and 2 and left hand, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So the next two lines of this piece are actually identical to what we just did. The words are different, and it's nice on this arrangement that the words are written in. So if you want to sing along, or sometimes I imagine the words in my head while I'm playing along. So the words are a little bit different, but the tune and the melody and the rhythm and everything is exactly the same. So let's move on then to the second page. So that was the verse. So now we're taking a look at the chorus. So the chorus is actually 8 bars long, goes from here to here. So let me play you the full chorus and then we'll break it down. So you notice between the two lines, it's pretty similar. The only bar that's a little bit different is the last bar of each line. So let's start with the first line of the chorus, and I'll do the right hand by itself, and then we'll add the left hand, and then we'll talk through that one bar that's different at the end of each line. So we start here with the second finger on A and then your thumb on A. This is common when you have a repeated note. You often switch fingers. You don't have to, so if you find at home that you just want to use your thumb twice, that's totally fine. But it is fairly common to do a finger switch when you have a repeated note. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, then moving up to D, and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So just one trickier rhythm in the third bar there, where you want to do that dotted quarter note. So that's a 1 and 2 and then you have your 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. The fingering is pretty straightforward except for that one switch. The left hand in this line is just a little bit more complicated. You've got more happening than in the right hand, so you might want to spend a little bit of extra time doing the left hand by itself here. I recommend that you start with 1 and 5, and then you're going to switch to your second finger on this B, and then 1 and 3, going to your fourth finger. And then here, 1 and 5, 1 and 5. This one is marked for you with the 2 and 5 and your thumb. So let's do that left hand one more time. So we have here, finger 2, 1 and 3. Just like on the first page, we've got that C sharp that holds across, but the lower finger switches. 1 and 5. Like that. And actually, you hold the D there as well. And then we're going to 1 and 2. And on this bar as well, you're going to hold that F all the way across and just switch the upper fingers. So there's the left hand. Now, there's no pedaling written on this page, and you do have to change the pedal fairly often on this section. So what you're going to want to do, I'll just write it in for you. I think I'll use red. I would switch twice in the first bar. So on this, and then here, and then in the following bar, I would change here, here, and here. So change, 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 hold, change, change, and then here, I would change twice. And then you'll have the exact same thing written or in the next line. So let's just go through that one more time. So we have 1 and 2, change, 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 change. So with both hands together, very slowly, here's how this section works. 1 and 2 and 3 and... The next line, exactly the same pedal. And the last bar, so all we have different here is we have F and A in the left hand, and the right hand has a high F. Remember I said we were in F major, so you've got F and A here and an F at the top to finish off that section. Now the next bars here, from here to here, are exactly the same as the first verse, with one exception. There's one little rhythm that's a little bit different, and it happens right here. So on the first page, if you'll notice, on that bar, we had this note coming afterwards, and here, it's on the beat. So this is a quarter instead of an eighth note. So that's the only difference. All right, so let me just play that verse for you so you can hear how that sounds. And here it is right here. So you play this together. And then we only have one other tiny little section, which is right here, which we can call the outro. And the outro is almost identical to the last two bars here and here. So the melody notes and the left-hand notes are actually exactly the same. It's just the rhythm of the right hand that's different. Rather than 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, we just have quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and... But the melody notes are exactly the same. And the left hand is identical. So we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and... So that's Yesterday by the Beatles. Be sure to check out my full performance video as well as my pro tips on Yesterday.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching Merriam's Online Academy. Check back here for more videos and don't forget to subscribe below.